For this challenge, I asked you to create a map layout using the Esri base map styles on an area that interested you. Here's my solution to this. First, I'm going to create a brand new project, and we'll go ahead and save this on the desktop in the exercise files. And I'll go ahead and put it in the 0809 solution template file folder so you can take a look at my solution when we're done. We'll go ahead and call this Mount Baker. I'm going to create a quick layout that focuses on a volcano that's basically in my backyard. That would be Mount Baker. So we're going to start by creating a new 2D map layout. And I'm just going to use the original topographic base map style that comes in by default. And I'll just hold down the Shift key on my keyboard and drag out a rectangle until I can find Mount Baker. Here it is. I live in Bellingham, so Mount Baker is just off to our east. Go ahead and zoom in on this area here. And we'll take a look at that. We'll just frame it up and give it a new bookmark. We'll call this Mount Baker. In the project pane, we'll go ahead and rename this map. I'll right click on it, rename, and I'll call it Mount Baker 2D. So I know which frame that is. And then we'll insert a new 3D frame just so we have one of each that we can take a look at in our layout. So inserting a new map scene here, then we go over to the View tab, and I'll convert it into a local scene. Then we'll go ahead and zoom back into Mount Baker. And I want to change the base map style that we're displaying here. So I'll go back to the Map tab. And for this 3D map, we're just going to choose the imagery layer, the one without labels. That'll update the display. And then using the middle mouse button on my mouse, I can go ahead and click, and then we'll just drag up to kind of pan the map down. You can also use the W or the S keys to adjust your view. Go ahead and press the plus key a couple of times to zoom in. And because of the elevation change, it's not real apparent that the mountain has a lot of verticality to it. So I want to exaggerate that a little bit. So I'll right click on the scene, go into properties. And on elevation surface, we'll change the vertical exaggeration. I'm going to change this up to 3 or 300% vertical exaggeration. And when that loads, we should get a much more impressive look at Mount Baker. So there we go. This is the view we get from our town. We get this direction here. So there is our beautiful Mount Baker. In fact, that exaggeration maybe is a little too extreme. So let's go ahead and change that down to maybe 2 instead. So that's looking better. I'll go ahead and reposition our view here just so we can see the mountain. Okay, so there are the 2 frames. I have a 2D frame and a 3D scene. Let's go ahead and right click on that in the project pane, rename it to Mount Baker 3D. And we can close both of these tabs. Next up, we're going to create our page layout. So we'll go to the Insert menu, we'll say New Layout, and I'm going to do a tabloid size, tabloid landscape. We'll insert our first map frame from the Insert menu, and that'll just be the Mount Baker layer here that we saved. And let's go ahead and shrink this down just a little bit. Something like so. On the Format tab, we can actually hard code in a specific height and width. So right now it's getting about 9 inches. We might as well just round that up to a full 9 inches wide, and we'll call it 6 inches tall. So I'll add the 2D map layout. Next, I need to add in the 3D one. So I'll go back to the map frame, and looks like I did make a bookmark for that. So let's go ahead and just add that in. It should, you know what, let's go ahead and actually delete that and go back in and create that bookmark. So I'll just open it up from the project pane. And it looks like I gotta reposition it. So we'll zoom in again. And once it renders, we'll come up to the bookmark tab and create that new bookmark, call it Mount Baker 3D. Great, now we can go ahead and close our scene, come back over to our layout and add in that 3D layer and not have to navigate in there. That'll make it a little bit easier. Let's go ahead and drag and put that into position. I'll move it over here to the right-hand side. And once again, on the Format tab, we'll set the height to 6 inches. And the width, I'll just make it 5 inches wide. We'll move it into position and drop it right about there. Next, I need a title on my map. So we'll go over to the map layout frame. We'll go ahead and select that in the contents pane. And on the Insert tab, we'll come over here to text. Go ahead and click on that. I'll click down into my map and I'll go ahead and type in the title, Mount Baker, Whatcom County, Washington. When I'm done, I'll click off of that. That will finish that text, and it's really small, but if I drag the corner, I can go ahead and enlarge that text. So there is the title of my map. Let's add in some dynamic text. And go ahead and scroll down to the bottom, and we can go ahead and choose the service layer credits for our imagery. And I'll put that below the image file itself. Then I'll click on the 2D map layer. We'll add in a scale bar, and I'll just choose a very simple one. How about this one right here? That'll drop a rather large scale bar in. Then we'll go up to the Design tab and set it to adjust width for the resize behavior. The division value I'll set to 5 miles. We're going to have 4 divisions, looks good, 4 subdivisions. So we have a 2.5 mile, then 5 mile. Let's actually change that to just 2. So now we have a 2.5 mile mark, a 5 mile tick, 10, 15, and 20 miles. So that's looking okay. We can click on that. We'll move that into the position. I'll add in a north arrow, and I'm going to choose a simple looking one, this one there. Go ahead and drag and drop that. Oh, actually enlarging it. Go put that back to where it was. You need to grab it right in the middle, and then I can move it into position. Go put it right about there. And on the Format tab with the north arrow selected, we could actually give it its own width and height. So we'll just make it about 3/4 of an inch tall. And we can go ahead and move it a little bit. If we need to zoom in, we can do that. Let's go over to the Layout tab and use that icon right here. It'll zoom into your selected elements, so you can kind of reposition it a little bit. Then we'll back out to the full extent. So there is my north arrow. Finally, I need to add in my name so we know who made this map. So we'll go over to the Insert tab. We'll add in one more text element. Go and type here, map by Adam Wilbert. And click, drag that into the bottom right-hand corner of the page. We'll put it right about there. So at this point, I think we're looking okay. I'm going to press Control S on my keyboard to save everything. And we'll call that my solution to the challenge.